You get the raise. The number on your paycheck goes up. For a week, everything feels lighter. And then, somehow it doesn't. The bills feel the same, the stress about the future is still there. You start wondering if you're just broken, or if there's actually a real answer buried somewhere in all this. Look, here's the thing. Money advice on this topic falls into two extremes. On one side, people say money doesn't buy happiness at all, so don't even bother chasing it. On the other side, hustle culture says just make more and eventually you'll feel it. Neither one is very satisfying. But here's what most people don't realize. There actually is a real number where money's effect on your happiness changes. Not a guess, not a vibe, an actual number from actual research. And in this video, I'm going to show you what that number is, and more importantly, what to do once you hit it.
My name is Jack, and I spend way too much time thinking about the relationship between money and how people actually feel. If you've ever made more money and felt strangely the same, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Okay, let's start with the first uncomfortable truth. Money absolutely buys happiness. Just not the way you think, and not forever. Researchers at Princeton ran a famous study tracking how people's day-to-day mood changed as their income rose. Below a certain income, more money made an enormous difference. People felt less stressed, slept better, and reported fewer bad days. That's the steep climb. But somewhere around $75,000 a year at the time of the study, closer to six figures today once you adjust for inflation, the climb stops being a climb. It levels out, like a mountain trail that suddenly goes flat. I call this the enough point. Not because you have everything you'll ever want past it, but because that's roughly where your day-to-day mood stops caring how much more you make. Now, more recent research complicated this a little, which I actually think makes it more useful, not less. A follow-up study found that for most people, happiness does keep climbing past the enough point, just more slowly. But there was one group where it really did flatten hard, roughly the unhappiest fifth of people. For them, no amount of income above that line moved the needle on their daily mood, which tells you something important. Past a certain point, money stops being the lever. Something else is. Which leads to step one. Fix the scarcity first, because this is where money buys happiness per dollar, by far. If you're behind on rent, skipping meals, or one car repair away from a crisis, that stress bleeds into everything. Every dollar you earn here isn't just income, it's removing a source of daily fear. This is the steepest part of the climb, before the enough point. If you're in this zone, chasing more income is genuinely one of the best happiness investments you can make.
Step 2. Once your baseline is covered, stop expecting income growth alone to keep making you happier day to day. This is the part people get wrong. They assume the next raise will feel like the last meaningful one did. Past the enough point, it won't, not on a daily mood level. That doesn't mean stop earning, it means stop outsourcing your happiness to a number that's already done most of its job. Step 3. Redirect the extra income toward time, not stuff. Researchers at Harvard Business School found that people who spent money to buy back time, hiring help, paying for a shorter commute, outsourcing chores, reported meaningfully higher life satisfaction than people who spent the same amount on possessions. A $50 grocery delivery that gives you back an evening does more for your happiness than a $50 gadget that sits in a drawer. Past the enough point, time is the actual currency your happiness runs on. Step 4. Separate day-to-day happiness from overall life satisfaction, because they're not the same thing, and income affects them differently. Your daily mood flattens at the enough point, but how satisfied you feel when you step back and evaluate your whole life, that keeps rising with income for almost everyone, even well past it. That's not a contradiction, it just means money's job changes. Early on, it removes daily suffering. Later, it builds the kind of life you're proud of when you zoom out. Security for your family, options, the ability to walk away from something bad. Both of those matter. You just can't expect the second one to feel like the first one did. Let me tell you about a friend of mine. I'll call him Marcus. He went from making $60,000 to $140,000 over about 4 years, straight through his own enough point. He told me something that stuck with me. His actual day-to-day mood barely changed. Same amount of small annoyances, same occasional bad Tuesday. But when he thought about his life as a whole, whether he was on track, whether his kid would be okay, whether he could handle an emergency, that feeling completely transformed. He wasn't happier hour to hour, he was more secure year to year. Once he understood that distinction, he stopped chasing raises to fix his mood and started using them to build the life he actually wanted to evaluate later. So here's the real number and the real takeaway. Somewhere around 6 figures, adjusted for where you live, you hit your enough point. Below it, income is one of your most powerful tools. Past it, the job of your money changes from removing daily stress to building long-term security and options. Maybe the goal was never to out-earn the enough point. Maybe the goal was just to notice when you'd already crossed it. Because the day you stop chasing a feeling that money stopped giving you years ago is the day you finally get to spend what's left of it on a life you actually want, instead of a mood you're never getting back. If this changed how you think about the number in your bank account, hit subscribe. And I'm curious, do you know where your own enough point is? Let me know in the comments.